Hey, this is Jason with Production Voices. I'm going to bring you through 300 grand and try and bring you through as much of the controls as possible, as quickly as possible, with unfortunately as little playing as possible. So now what I have here is I have 300 grand up and I've selected 300 grand, the 30 velocities, and I brought this preset up. And let's start right up at the top. So if you want to look at snapshots, you can take a look at snapshots here, and then all your snapshots are going to show up down under factory. I've saved some user ones for myself, but yours should just show this menu, and you can go down and see all the Ambisonic presets and then all the presets down here. Now I should mention that if you load another version of this, so I'm going to load just 300 grand underneath here, let's just double click it. What we'll see is that as it loads up, and you're going to get different presets. So then the factory presets, some of them will be the same. If they are the same, sometimes they'll say like 30 velocity beside them, so that you know that what they are. But as you scroll through, you'll see robust, all grand, and this is where you'll get your presets. Now, for some people, they might be asking, well, why are there presets right on the interface itself too if we have snapshots? Well, these are just kind of our highlighted presets, the ones that give you just a few settings that give you the most diverse range. So if you want to quickly go in and see what is 300 grand all about, you can go in and select these presets down here, and they will give you probably the fastest overview of overview of the different sounds that are capable in the instrument. So maybe I should play a C major chord just so that you can hear this. Oh, suspended. So then that's the Ambisonics plus the stage. Let's go through and show you the next settings. These are the show mics. So show mics shows you approximately the placement and the different microphones that you have. You click on this dot right here, it's going to show you what the microphones are and label them. So then, for example, the hammer mics are just going to be the U87s right on the hammers, and I can turn those on right now, and we can even get into the mixer and solo those if you wanted to hear them just in isolation. So it's a very dry sound compared to the altogether hall sound that's included in that. So 300 grand is capable of doing more than just classical music and ambient sounds. It can do intimate jazz, pop, anything that's close up with those hammer mics as well. So as you move from left to right in these microphone perspectives, you're getting dry to wetter sounds, meaning more reverb, and as you move from the right to the left, you're getting drier again. So then if you're looking to choose something that's balanced, you can choose something in the middle, or you can combine whatever microphone perspectives that you want together. That is the flexibility of 300 grand. Let's go down and take a look at the different settings that we have. Touch response is how your instrument controller responds to velocity, to volume. So then if I take this way out of the way here, what's going to happen is we're going to get, when I barely play, we're going to get this kind of huge dynamic range, which isn't very natural. And of course, I've done this to the extreme. For most cases, if you turn this all the way off, what you're going to get is the instrument exactly as it was sampled, the dynamics of the Yamaha CFX. But because we like a little bit more dynamics than probably is naturally set, I set this between 5-8% or so. And then you can get the different sounds. Next, let's take a look at sympathetic resonance. So sympathetic resonance is when you hold down one key, and I can play it without it sounding, and then I'll turn up the sympathetic resonance so you can hear it. It's the other notes that are all related to that one C note that you can't see me playing because the camera's not showing it. So sympathetic resonance adds that natural sound to the piano, but it also increases your velocity count. So if you use this, make sure that you have a fast computer and you're running an SSD. Key up. What it does is when you press down the sustain pedal and you let up on the keys, turn it up, and these can get very loud depending on the microphone perspective. You see the noise that's happening. It's way too loud in that case. I'm going to bring it down. You can hear the key mechanism coming back up. And you have to adjust the volume to make sure that you're not getting too much noise from them. So They are kind of overcompensated for so that you can adjust these based on microphone perspectives that are further out in the hall so that you can hear them a little bit more, even though they're not naturally in there. So they're going to be noisy if you do increase them. And that's true of almost all these controls, is that pedal noise, you can crank it up and it's going to get some noise. What we had to do is make sure that we had a compromise between good sound, quality sound, and not denoising and pulling out too much of the actual sound itself when we were looking at these. So you'll have to adjust things accordingly. Release is when I let up on the key. If I turn the release off, it will have like no. So it dries up the sound, right? The release has the hall sound coming back into the, spilling back into the mics. Natural hall sound. And if we increase this, it was -12 or something. This is going to be way too much. Right? And you're going to get a little bit of noise again as we go in there. So whatever it was before is a little more natural. Moving across, we have pedal noise. And in pedal noise, this is the sound of the damper pedal as you push down. And again, this is can get noisy depending on what microphone perspectives you have on, but it sounds good within a mix, right? Like within the playing. So you want to control that based on the type of sound that you want and how much of that pedal noise you want to creep in there. Next is continuous pedal. If you have a controller such as Kawai VPC1 like I have, you'll want to keep the continuous pedal on. In fact, for most users, keeping it on is going to be perfectly fine. If you turn this off, what you're going to get is just the ability to have the sustain work with a regular sustain pedal that's on off instead of halfway in between. So for example, with a continuous pedal, what we can do is I can half pedal and then I can let up. As I let up, the sound is kind of just pulling back, right? It allows me to control our pedal noise as we go through. And of course we have to combine that with the release and pedal noise. Combined all together gives us our realism that we need. Next, when we get into microphone control, this is the Reverb Send. Reverb Sends across here are going to go into the settings. We have to turn the reverb on in order to have this happen. Right now it's set to convolution and it's set to the Hall Omni, and pre-delay is down, returns up. So then if I just go in and only solo or hear the hammers, then we got, there it is. And I increase the reverb. So if I increase the reverb, this is just way too much, right? So that's way too much for that sound, of course. This just shows that you can add reverb back into each channel individually. But the nice thing about this is that what I've actually done is I've included impulse responses from the actual hall. So then when we go into settings, and you can see this is the actual hall that we recorded or sampled the piano in. So it's got all the reverbs in there. So when it says 300 player, it's the microphone perspective as it picks up the room ambience from each one. So if you wanted to enhance the hammer microphones from right within themselves to just give a little bit more, trying to think of like body more reverb from that perspective, and then that's coming from that microphone. So it's the hammer microphone with the hammer impulse response, but here's without it, right? So by comparison, if I bring up the release, this is the release, just 12 dB too loud. Right, so it's way too much and noisy. And it's set up to be the best delay and crossfade between there. It's not meant to be crushed like what we're doing there. So if I increase the reverb on the tail, and what you probably should be asking, and this is getting off topic, is how does that compare to actually adding in hall mics themselves? So if I add the hall mics in, if I can click it on, and then increase the volume. So that's the sound of the hall mics with the hammer, and I'll add that back in again. See how quickly this will load. So you can get a combination of natural sound. That hasn't fully loaded, as you can see. A combination of natural reverb plus artificially adjusting it based on the reverb settings that you have there. So all across here, you have your 9 microphone perspectives. They are explained and shown right here with the show mics. And you can see on this tab what they are. So then it'll list them as hammer inside, your 2 outside microphones, Ambisonic player, and so on, and what they are and where they're positioned. It's kind of a convoluted little graph that you can figure it out, but you'll have to check it out in the manual as well. This is where you adjust the volume and turn them on and off. Now, this is the same as the mixer page. In the mixer page, you can have the on off on each of these, and they are in order, and they label them in the volume as well. Just we've put everything on the main page, so it's nice and easy to access. So down below, you'll also see that we're on the main page: settings, mixer, ambisonics, and master. All at the bottom, you can select each of those.